Generative AI applications are becoming the newest business-critical application that IT admins are going to have to deploy, manage, and support, ensuring your private data and models are secure. Is your IT team ready? Hi, I'm Laura Giordana, Technical Marketing at Nutanix, and in this video, I want to walk you through how Nutanix Enterprise AI can help an IT admin become an AI admin with a simple platform for deploying and managing your AI models and endpoints. Let's take a look. Taking a popular Gen AI application as an example, a simple chatbot, you have a user who's interacting with the chatbot. And on the back end, the chatbot is querying an endpoint via API, and this endpoint is backed by a model. This is known as inference. You can also leverage techniques such as retrieval augmented generation, but here we're just going to focus on the simple use case. Nutanix Enterprise AI is a Kubernetes application that enables you to easily manage your models and inference endpoints in your organization. It can run on the Nutanix Kubernetes platform and leverage Nutanix files for storing models for a complete end-to-end solution on the Nutanix Cloud Platform, keeping your data and models secure and protected. Let's take a look at what this looks like. So we've just installed Nutanix Enterprise AI and we're logging in for the first time. So there is a default admin account with a default username and password, and you'll be prompted to change this password. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll reset the password and we'll log in with our new password, and we'll be prompted to accept the end user license agreement and enable Pulse, which will help streamline support and help improve the product. So once we log in, we can see that this is a clean system because we've just logged in for the first time and we haven't put anything here yet. But as the admin, we'd be able to see any models and endpoints that users have created by anyone on the system. So of course, nothing here yet. Admins can also see all the events that have happened on the system for auditing, and they can also create additional users, either additional admins, or you can create user roles that have access to only models and endpoints that that specific user creates. So for example, if you wanted to provide self-service access for data scientists or developers to test out models. We can also get information on the infrastructure as the admin. In settings, we can configure the access tokens for the model hubs for the logged in user. And as the admin, we can also configure the Pulse settings. So let's start by adding some credentials. So for some guidance on how to access API keys, for Hugging Face, you'll need to have an account on their website, and you'll want to set up an access token with read access. And you'll also want to ensure that the model you want to download, that you have access to that model. So you'll generally need to accept a EULA and wait for approval. For the NVIDIA NIM download, you'll want to have an account on nvidia.com with an active subscription with an NGC personal key generated that has access to the NGC catalog services. So let's go ahead and add in our Hugging Face Model Hub token, as well as our NVIDIA NIM token, our NGC personal key as well. So once we have our credentials, we can go ahead and start downloading models. So clicking on models here, we have three options to import models. We can import from the NVIDIA NGC catalog, from the Hugging Face Model Hub, or we can import models manually. Let's go ahead and start with the NVIDIA NGC catalog, where we have a validated model. So we have one validated model at the time of this recording. So let's go ahead and select it. It's the Llama 3.1 AP Instruct. We'll give the model instance a name, and this is how we can refer to it within our system. And so we'll call this NIM Llama 3, and then we'll go ahead and click on import. So that's going to go ahead and allocate the storage and run some pre-checks and essentially get everything ready to run the NIM container. And while we're here, let's go ahead and download a model from Hugging Face. So we have 12 validated models here. Let's go ahead and download one of the Mistral models. We'll go ahead and give that a name. And so that's also going to allocate the storage and download the model from Hugging Face. Now that our NIM model is active, we can go ahead and take a look at setting up an endpoint with that model. So I'll click on endpoint, I'll click on create new endpoint. I'll give the endpoint a name, so I'll call it NIM Llama 3, and then I'll select my model instance that we have downloaded. And then I can select the number of GPUs per instance, so I can change this as needed depending on what's in my system. If I select multiple GPUs, it's essentially going to split up the model across GPUs, so depending on how big the model is. So let's just select one for now, and we'll select our GPU card, which is our L40S. And since we selected a NIM model, it's going to use the NVIDIA NIM Inference engine. So that's our only option there. We can change the configuration. These are going to be the resources that the pod's going to get, but I'm going to leave the default. And then we'll select the number of instances, which is going to be the number of pod replicas that are going to get deployed and request GPU. Then we can create an API key for accessing the endpoint. We'll copy that key out, and then once we're done, we can go ahead and click create, and our endpoint will be spun up and be ready to perform inference. Once our endpoint is marked as active, that means it's ready to go, so we can start using it. So drilling into it, we can see all the information about the endpoint and how to access. And as it starts to be used, we'll see latency and request metrics as well. We can test the endpoint directly from the interface. By clicking test, we can either use some sample requests, or we can put our own custom requests in here. So for example, I can ask, help me plan a trip to Paris in the spring, and click test, and it's going to go ahead and query our endpoint. And so this provides a way for the IT admin to be able to test out the endpoint before handing off the URL and API keys and other information to the developer. There's a sample request that can be copied, and we're using an OpenAI compliant URL and payload. So it makes it very easy if you've already written some scripts or applications for OpenAI or other services that use the same standard. And so it's very easy to port them over to a different endpoint. So now we can go ahead and use this code in an application. So I've copied off the URL, and in my sample chatbot application here, I'm going to configure it to connect to my URL and endpoint with my API key. And then I can go ahead and ask it, for example, to write some Python code to calculate the Fibonacci sequence using this NIM. So it'll go ahead and give us an answer. And so we can see that our app is working and connected to our endpoint. So jumping back into the interface here, we can see that a request has come through as a successful request. And we can also see that we can monitor the latency and how long it took for that request. And we can see more requests coming in, so we can continue to monitor the latency and request information. And of course, as the admin, we get an overall view for all the endpoints and the request trends, as well as the infrastructure information. So we have full visibility into how the model and endpoints are performing, as well as the infrastructure. So as we've seen, Nutanix Enterprise AI provides a simple and secure way to deploy, monitor, and manage your AI models and endpoints on the Nutanix Cloud Platform. To try out Nutanix Enterprise AI yourself, head on over to nutanix.com/test drive and look for the AI test drive. See you in the next video.